heritage. We are joined by Dr. I hope I'm saying this correctly, Phethole Mahasha, a renowned scientist specializing in infectious diseases and Indigenous knowledge systems. Today, we explore how Africa's ancient wisdom can drive future innovations. Good morning, Doctor. How are you? Doctor?
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with a community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za
and get ready to share your views
on Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Tech Africa every Sunday, 9 till 12 noon,
Central African Time.
If you just joined us, welcome to the Channel Africa family. Of course, this is Take Africa with me, Kitty Phetla, standing in for Buleng. We are joined by Dr. Phethole Mahasha, a renowned scientist specializing in infectious diseases and Indigenous knowledge systems. Today, we explore how Africa's ancient wisdom can drive future innovations. Good morning, Doctor. How are you?
I'm very much well, health-wise, other than the bug that has been sitting in my system the whole week.
Oh.
But other than that, I think I'm okay and breathing, and for that, forever grateful. But good morning to you and to your listeners and those who are able to view as well.
I'm so glad that you're on the mend. And how's the spirit? Is your spirit good this morning? Because that's also very important.
No, I'm not going to allow the bug to put me down. Life has to move on.
Absolutely. Doctor, can you give us a simple introduction to Indigenous knowledge systems and why they matter today?
Just a simple response to your question. Indigenous knowledge systems matter because they've been there with us throughout history. Before anything that is kind of synthetic.
Recording in progress.
And all the medications that we are aware of today, originally our ancestors relied upon indigenous knowledge systems and basically African traditional medicines. So if you look at how it has been throughout history, just to give you an example of just the recent past, you saw when we had the challenges of COVID-19, where the West hoarded all the vaccines, Africa, in a way, had there been no other ways of survival, what it meant is that Africans most would have succumbed to the pandemic. But based on that indigenous knowledge, that our ancestors used for generations,
absolutely,
gone by and continue to use today, most of our people continental survived because of it. And I think you can remember the Artemisia Afra story, where everybody else was running to Madagascar about it.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, you know, you say such important like facts, actually. You know, it's not only just about speaking about it, because globally, I mean, we were the one continent because of our indigenous background. Man, I think we handled the pandemic so well because, you know, it was just so incredible to see how we handled it because of such indigenous systems as well, you know?
Indeed we have. There are just obvious things that so often, because of probably the times that we live in, we tend to ignore. I just want to give you an example of the two countries around the world and the continent of Africa as a whole. These countries being India, being China, where the population of those two countries it's in the region of 1.4 plus billion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the population of the people of this continent of ours, Africa, is over 1.5 billion people. And when you look at those two countries and the whole continent of Africa, that's where indigenous knowledge system is used the most. And when you add up those numbers that I've just mentioned to you, it's more than half the population of the world.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we know the public health systems status of our continent. But yet, with all of those challenges of the Western system that we are used to today, the numbers of the people of this continent continues to grow. Then the question is why? And while we know more than 80% of the population of the continent relies on indigenous knowledge systems.
That's very true. And
that is just an obvious thing that is staring us at our faces. But for whatever reason, the world seems to ignore that. And I think, as I've just said about India and China, and then putting the continent into that, this is where natural medicines, where indigenous knowledge is relied upon the most. That's and I think the numbers of those countries and our continent proves to all of us that really living with nature and from nature, actually it is the way to go. Because then, if that wasn't the case, one will then assume people were supposed to be dying. If anything, if this indigenous and African natural medicines were indeed not safe and killing people.
That's true, because then you
why
look
are
at
the
our
numbers continuing to increase?
Yeah, because then if you look at our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, if you look back, I mean, they survived living with nature and healing themselves through nature, so it's so true. And I couldn't agree even more with you. Your current work looks at linking engineering with traditional knowledge. What does that fusion look like in practice?
Thank you for the question. Just before I get to it, actually, over 2 years ago, I had attended a conference in Zambia. And the chair of my session was the the two professors who were the co-chairs of that conference were his students. And after I gave a presentation about indigenous knowledge systems and African traditional medicines, he stood up and said that actually when he was around 10 and 12 years old, he was sick for the longest time, that parents went from this hospital to that hospital to that hospital, and all of those hospitals sent him home, basically to die. But parents being parents, they could not let their son die. So they consulted our knowledge holders within the communities. And over almost 70 years later, with so much outputs of students that he has produced, including the two co-chairs of that conference, which I attended, the Farmer Connect conference that I attended in Zambia, were his products. So you can imagine, had they decided to just sit and let things be, the man would have died, just because the system that we seem to be relying upon so much today had said he cannot survive anymore. So it's just to add up into just justifying the value of indigenous knowledge.
Absolutely.
But the reason why engineering is brought into this, and I think engineering can play a huge role, it's on the basis of expertise that they possess. We really need to get to a point where we develop the economies of our continent. And for us to do that, we need experts like engineers within all the disciplines, the different disciplines of engineering, to support this cause by enabling us to have facilities that will really indeed be able to test and validate the claims of our knowledge holders, to the point where when we put things out there into the world, there will be proof that is scientifically proven to indicate how safe and efficacious the medications that our knowledge holders are claiming to be curing so many different diseases are. That's the reason why the engineering sector has been pulled into this, asked to really participate. And I'm very much thankful to the SAIAA for the role that they've availed themselves to play in this. including a DIP, to help us move forward, because there are plans that we have. We sure would like to build a laboratory where we can conduct research within that lab. And the other thing that we like to do with ADIP and the South African Post Office, as well as the SAIEA, is to build a museum that will retain all of this traditional knowledge that we have had, collecting it across the continent, and at least be able to document it within databases for the next generations to be able to see and be reliant upon.
Listen, I'll be the first one to attend that, to go and explore that museum, because we really need that, because Indigenous medicine have been existing for the longest of time, and we really need to learn more about it. And if there are museums like that will acknowledge its existence even to this day, we really, they're not saying, the glass is really, really full, not even half full, because we really need to learn more about it, because as I said, I'd be the first one to go to that museum. How can
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Maybe before you continue, and this is why the call is made, because unless we get to do things ourselves and not be always reliant on others to help us move forward with the things that we want to do, that's where we will always sort of struggle. And I think the call is on those that are able, people who have resources. I see it, and I think we can't go through the system that the Western people are going through, where those who are rich leave money for when they've passed on to support research. The problems of Africa are now, they are today. So my call is to those who have the financial muscles and those who are experts who can then lend their expertise to come on board and support these initiatives, because it is only through their help that you can be able to visit that museum, I hope, in the next 5 years.
Yeah, because you don't want to
with their help.
Because, I guess we have this fear, or maybe it's not a fear, it's something that's already happening, that you'll find someone outside our continent or someone in the US who's going to come here and capitalize on the existence of our indigenous systems and create this museum with budgets that are not from here. Someone else telling our stories once again. So we don't want to find ourselves there. So yes, I am advocating for what you're asking
cannot
for.
continue to go back there. We can't. I mean, we really have to take charge of our future and the future of our children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the next generations that are to come. And that's why I'm making a call to our philanthropists. Don't wait until you are dead with the funds that you have.
Yeah.
We need them now.
From
Africa's
here,
problems are today.
Absolutely.
And we need to resolve them today.
How can Indigenous African solutions contribute to health innovation in the modern world?
That, in a very much huge way, in response to the question. I mean, I just mentioned to you the use of science to validate the claims. But that is when it comes to medications. There's a lot of food that can come through agriculture that can really enable people to sustain their lives by just eating greens, as we should indeed, because we were born with nature and God made us with nature so that we can be reliant upon it and live with it. But by using science, to be honest with you, as a tool that is acceptable globally to validate the claims so that we have our medications available across the world. I told you about India. I told you about China. In China and India today, as we speak, people have an option when they are not well of what to choose as a form of treatment. Even in their hospitals, they have sections where you have knowledge holders and traditional healers.
And China is
providing
huge
that
at
guidance to them.
Yeah, China is huge.
And that is very much enabling.
Yeah.
Because it gives, basically the treatment is holistic.
Exactly.
The Western science can help where Western science can help, but you find them some of the issues really need to be addressed in an African way, and where it's issues that relate to spirituality and all of those things. And then if a person gets to be in that kind of an environment, as there are organizations within the country as well today as we speak, that are working towards that. And one hopes that they can get that support so that at least maybe in the next 5 years or so, facilities like those can be availed in the different settings where health is delivered to our people, so that they can then get this holistic care. It's happening in Europe, in other countries in Europe as well. Why can't we do it? Because we are the custodians of this.
Absolutely. So
we need to really make sure that we take that charge to make it happen.
you know, especially in our public health systems, you know, when we're speaking about modern systems, and you're speaking about China, these are the innovations that they're using, you know, using indigenous medicines to support conventional medicine, you know, when they hit a dead end, because indigenous medicine systems also come a long way. What is standing in the way of us using that in our public health system, also in our private health systems? I mean, you say 5 years. I mean, there's someone who's sick out there who doesn't have 5 years. You know, and you'll find that maybe there's a cactus plant that could deal with the ailments today, you know, by just the use of it for a month. You know, I'm just making an example, you know, and these are things that are in our backyards that, you know, our ancestors, people who lived before us, knew about. And I just want to know what is standing in the way of our public health systems or private health systems to use these innovations.
Thank you very much for the question. Actually, just listening to your question, over 2 months ago, one of the knowledge holders that I've been engaging with, he called me while he was sitting with a patient that came to him, who is a nurse, who's been sick with HIV for 19 years prior to her coming to consult with him. And for that whole past month, he was giving her his medication that treats HIV.
Wow.
And on the day of calling, she had gone and tested, and the result had come back negative.
Undetectable.
Nothing.
That's incredible. Zero. And I've always said it's gonna come from here in Africa. The solution.
I mean, there's a lot of that happening. There are cancer treatments that people have been getting and getting well. It's just that because it comes from our side, it does not get the attention that it deserves. And then there are standards that are set that determines what is acceptable or not. So one of the biggest things that I think it's something that needs to be addressed as in yesterday is with the regulatory agencies of our country in South Africa and the continent as a whole.
Yes.
For them to come on board. I mean, in South Africa, as we sit here, the government is really very much supporting indigenous knowledge systems and African traditional medicine research. But one of the biggest hurdle is that we don't have regulations.
That's what's standing
But yet we have regulations for the Chinese medications, for the Indian medications, but we don't have regulations to regulate our own medications. While over 70% of our people, when they are not well, just in South Africa alone, on the continent above 80%.
I know.
This is not me saying, this is the WHO that says that.
Yeah.
When they are not well, their first contact is knowledge holders, not a Western hospital.
Oh man, and
I
feel like the knowledge holders need to be on call 24/7.
Precisely, and the numbers are showing. If this 70% of people uses natural medicines the most, and the numbers of the continent continues to increase to the levels that is increasing too, something is good there. And I think what my call is to the regulators to come on board, to really put those regulations out there, to regulate our traditional medicines, so that then everybody knows there is that eye that is watching over, and really making sure that that which gets to people is indeed given the attention that it deserves.
Absolutely. Africa has a rich healing and scientific heritage. Oh man, I totally agree with that. Why was it sidelined for so long?
My answer to the question will be we allowed ourselves to be dependent so much. And I guess maybe it's because of the economic challenges and all of that. But I think some of the issues will relate to who is in charge of those decisions, which are of benefit to Africa.
Gatekeepers.
And I think one of the issues is having people who don't believe in your ideas and plans, even worse, who don't want you to be successful, leading the plans that you know, if they were really implemented as you envisaged them, they can really give you the results that you want to see. I think that's where the challenge is. And there are just so many people that are out there who really are for the people. Because I sit here and I think of a legacy. A legacy for me is not leaving billions or millions to my children and my family. A legacy for me is with the opportunity that God has given me on this earth and the responsibilities to sit on certain positions. When I leave this world, what is it that I'm going to leave to the next generations as an impact, as something that they can hold on to and still be reliant upon, which in the main, it will be making their lives better. Not money, because money, nobody's buried with it, but so many people die with so much money. While had they put these resources in places where they are needed the most, indeed, so much greatness will come out of that. So I think the issue is just sometimes, as I'm observing in other quarters, is putting people who don't believe in the plans that you have, who knows the impact that those plans will have, to be the drivers of those plans, while they don't want you to be successful. And I think our government needs to get to a point where they really do their assignments. They get to know their country's people whom they can be reliant upon, give the support that they need to make sure that that which they want to achieve is achieved. That is the only way. But if you have other people who have different agendas, who don't want you to be successful, to be the ones whom you are reliant upon, how is that going to happen? From where I'm sitting, that has been the issue for so long, and it's going to continue to be the issue unless a change is made.
Yeah, it's that continued issue of gatekeepers who are against the holistic indigenous systems. Well, let's hope that's going to change. Listen, that's been one of my big hopes for our continent, because I really feel like that's going to bring about so much physical and mental healing to our continent, And speaking of which, what are some examples of indigenous innovations that could transform modern engineering or medicine?
I've mentioned a bit about what is been happening, even in my previous responsibilities. I mean, there's just so much opportunities to really venture into, and not only in this case with medicines. There are cosmetics cosmeceuticals that we can be reliant upon, that come from indigenous knowledge, of which for generations has been used, and people have been surviving with that without the modern equipments or tools that we use today. But we can tap into that to make sure that different products that can have a global impact economically can come out of that. As I have said, medications. I mean, I'm involved currently with the cancer project. For the lack of resources, I want to move to, I just told you about the HIV patient and the project that I want to move to get into that as well. But for the lack of finances, those are some of the challenges that stands in front of some of us and others, not only me, that wants to do so much. But to answer the question, there's just so much potential. I always make this argument that the UAE identified a natural resource, which was oil. 20 years ago, they were not where they are today, that whole region, all right? But look at where it is today, because they knew what they had. They knew it wasn't going to be there forever, but they used it while they still have it in abundance to change the face of their countries for generations to come. As we sit here, everyone wants to go to that region. Everyone wants to go to Dubai because of what they have done with the resources that they've had. South Africa is the third most biodiverse country in the world when it comes to our plant species. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not only talking about South Africa, then bring the whole continent of Africa. And you ask yourself, what is out there that we can really benefit? I mentioned earlier on Artemisia Afra, the noises that we made during the COVID pandemic, people running around, running to Madagascar and all of that. Yeah. There's just so much that indeed, if we were to focus on it, that's why I'm crying to those that are able with resources to really support these initiatives.
Absolutely.
To allow us to really tap into this, not just throw money today and say, hey, build a lab and then go away. A plan that is forward-looking. Yes, the laboratory will require money if it is built, but then is to be sustaining that so that the research can be done for the next 10 to 15 years and beyond. So provide resources into that environment to enable the setup of these facilities that are needed, but going forward, have a budget for the next 10 to 15 years that will be there to support the activities that will be taking place within that environment. I assure you, sitting here today, if that was done, I believe a lot of different cures for diseases will come up in the next 5 to 10 years. Well, I think it's too far away.
Yeah.
10 years is too far away. But I think in the next 5 years, we can achieve a lot. But use these natural resources to really impact the world as it can be impacted.
Oh man, I'm excited, really. This conversation for me, you're blowing my mind away. Many young Africans feel disconnected from their traditions, and that's very true. How do we bring IKS into schools and universities?
That is a very much worrying question that you ask.
Yeah, because it needs to be taught.
It's worrying because that is just so true, what you are saying.
Yes.
But they are where they are in their mindset because they were made to believe that everything that is English and Western is better than that which their ancestors relied upon for generations.
So, for instance, someone can't go to university and go study indigenous systems. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're very right. Yeah.
Because the view is not positive. Just outside, just looking at it or just hearing a word about it, it's not a positive view. But these are natural medicines, for heaven's sake.
Yes.
I mean, how many spices do you have in your kitchen now?
Lots, and
why do you use them?
We use them when you have flu.
That's the question.
Yeah.
You understand? So all of these things are there for us to tap into. So for me, the answer to the question is that governments of different countries of the continent need to just engage with the higher learning institutions, even at lower levels of study of children, to just bring this indigenous knowledge into the syllabus of the schools, so that then from that age, it can be, instilled into these young kids as to how important natural medicines are. From that point, I think if that is done, going forward and embracing this and really bring reason why it is important for them as well to learn and pursue it, that can really help to move things forward and move the needle and change the mindset of our youth.
Absolutely.
Remember, you are what you see generally or what you eat. That's what they're saying. So there isn't much that is seen on television screens that talks to that indigenous knowledge, that history that has been there for generations. That I know from myself, and I always make this argument to people that I will be in conferences or in meetings and say to them, looking at the people that will be sitting around and say, all of you here survived to be where you are today because of the indigenous knowledge that your ancestors and your parents had, because you did not have medical aids at your time when you were young growing up. When you were sick, they will just go behind the house, they'll be in the yard there, they'll either pick the leaves, depending on whatever ailment that you were crying about, or get the roots or the barks of that, either boil or just give for you to chew that and then swallow.
That's
Suddenly you
true.
are well.
That's true. That's how I grew
Okay,
up. Yeah.
precisely. So that needs to be something that we get into our syllabus at higher learning of institutions, even
I think
at
even
lower level.
before, yeah, I think even at basic education, I think definitely.
Basic
Yeah.
education needs to
Yeah.
really incorporate that and
Absolutely.
make our children see the importance of it. Instead
Absolutely.
of them always thinking, oh, everything Western is better than what is African. But the reality is life began here. And people survived here for generations before anything that is Western came to be.
And I think they can
And
work together.
unfortunately, most medications,
I think they
yes,
can
and
work
most
together.
medications
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they are part of natural medicines.
Absolutely. Definitely. Doc, what research breakthrough are you most excited about right now? I know.
Just looking forward to what can come out of the research that is being done. Some of it I've left it where I was, and I think it's gonna create some breakthroughs in the country. But some of the work that I'm currently working on, I mean, I'm just looking forward to what can come out of that, just to prove that there is ability, there is will, and there is knowledge that is being ignored for so long. But not to say anybody is better than the other, but
Yeah.
just to bring something into the world that we live in today that can really bring a huge difference. I mean, I'm engaging with knowledge holders who's been treating people of cancers,
Yes, that's the one that I'm very excited
even bone
about.
cancer, for heaven's
Yeah.
sake. I can
Yeah.
give you a story that happened
Yeah.
to me one time. Sorry, I used the how train generally when I go to work, and obviously get into the how bus and then get to the office. One day, the driver of the bus just stopped in the middle of nowhere, where there was no stop. And obviously, you can imagine we were surprised by what that was happening. So then what happened was, after he apologized, he told us that, I'm sorry to have stopped. The reason is, I've seen this gentleman pass by with a huge lump on his head.
Oh, man.
And I was just asking him if he's getting help for that, because I can cure that.
Oh, my gosh. Just the bus driver?
Yes.
Wow.
You know, so, and even gave, after that, we because, and I was just saying, God, thank you very much, because I mean, this is what I'm interested in. Obviously, you know, I'm working on it. And now you're giving me this man who's claims to be having these medications that can cure. So he's been giving these medications to a lot of people. And
So
people
he's
have been
actually a
getting well.
herbalist and he's healing people.
He is a herbalist, yes.
Wow.
He is. He's the same person who's given the HIV medication to the lady who was suffering with HIV for 19 years.
I have a secret wish, you know. I wish to be a herbalist, honestly. I really, really do. I find it very, very interesting. That's why this conversation with you, it's really just like melting my heart. Really, it is. You know, you speak about legacy. Before I actually go back to the legacy, you know, I really, in terms of the breakthroughs, I really, really wish you all the best in terms of cancer and HIV breakthroughs, and of course other ailments that our people are suffering with. And I just really, really am excited about the prospects of those breakthroughs, you know, because already
thank you very much.
Yeah, it already is happening. It's just, you know, making it official, because making it official is also being okay with, you know, our public health systems and the laws and the bylaws, you know. So I just really, really, really wish the best for that, and I really hope it happens, because people are just waiting for a breakthrough, you know. It's just something that people are suffering from, honestly. And
and no, thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank
I
you
really
very much.
do.
Just
Yeah.
to say, it's not only those two.
Yeah.
We know the issue that diabetes is.
Absolutely. And I was going to say
Right?
that. Yeah, massive one.
Yeah, we
Especially in
know
Black
the
community.
challenge that kidney disease is.
Absolutely.
Right?
High blood pressure.
The cost of dialysis and all of those things.
Yeah.
People have medications for all of those things.
Yeah. Doc,
Right?
you know,
We just need to validate that scientifically, so that it's not only beneficial to us but to everybody around the world.
absolutely.
But we need resources. We need financial support
and that's
to
all
be
we
able to
need.
do that. That's why I'm making this cry to say, those that are able today, don't sit there and say, oh, okay, I'm going to accumulate this much money, and when I die, I will leave it for this and this. That will be too late for so many of Africans. The problem of Africa are today, we need to resolve them today, so that tomorrow we are better for it.
And the beauty, it's not kicking the one out, you know, because when you have a moment where Western medication does not work, we should fall back or to fall back on Indigenous systems, so that they can both collaborate. It's just really amazing how much we're just literally sitting on so much information and so much healing that needs to be happened, but needs to be official, right? Doc, speaking of legacy, right? You spoke about, and I love what you said. And I'm really interested to know because dissertations are all about proven facts, right? And I want to know, what was your dissertation about?
My dissertation about it was HIV. It was on HIV. And this is how it happened, actually. Many years ago, when I was young, I've always known that I want to do something that can impact people for the better. All right. And because of that inquisitiveness that I had and just reading and all of that, even before I finished my matric or even got into the grade 8 and choose maths and science, I also knew what can enable me to get there. I was accepted to register for medicine at Sefakomagatu, today the old Medunsa University. And then I went there on the day that I was given to come and register. When I arrived, I was told that they are full. But I told them, here's the letter that I've received and the day is today for me to come and register. And they told me they are full, so they cannot take me anymore. And obviously, you can imagine how crushed I was. But one of the security guards who was there, who knew what happened the previous day, came to me and said, actually, your slot was given away yesterday because there was this lady who was here with her parents who did not apply, good grades, wanted to register, and eventually they assumed you will not come. And instead of letting her leave because she had not applied, they took her and assumed that you're not going to come, and they gave you your slot.
Wow.
I was crushed on that. But on the day, I even known the value that science plays in medicine and in improving people's lives. I made a decision when I left Medunsa that I'm going to register for a BSc degree, and decided on the day that I'm not going to quit until I am a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Until I have the ability to be able to use the tool that I would have acquired to make a difference in people's lives, which is basically what I have done. Having done that, and having said that which I have said, HIV was a challenge, obviously, in South Africa. I knew of the challenge that it was, and TB, and I made a decision even then when I decided to pursue my honors degree, and the challenges that cancer causes globally and continentally, that I'm going to pursue those courses, go to the best institutions that offer those courses to train, so that in future, God willing, then I can apply the knowledge that I would have acquired for the benefit of the whole. And I'm so grateful that with God's grace and mercy, one has been able to do that. Not easy along the way, so many challenges, but I think faith carried me through.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And that said, Doc, really, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. I feel these kind of conversations need to be had all the time. That was Dr. Mahasha for, he's really, really incredible. And thank you so much for reminding us that Africa's future is rooted in its past and powered by innovation. Man, this was just such a powerful conversation. Like, I literally lost track of time. It's exactly 10 minutes before the top of the hour right here on Take Africa with me, Kitty Phetla, standing in for Buleng. Man, this was just too incredible. Indigenous systems are much needed in our country. Because listen, sometimes I spend some time, like if my sister's not well, we sit at like government hospitals, and seeing people's ailments. And I think that's why this is so close to my heart, what we spoke about. And I feel like, when you see a person, and listen, the waiting periods can be so long. You could sit there for something maybe very serious or maybe not so serious. You could sit there for 2 hours at a stretch, trying to seek for help. And I just feel like, Indigenous systems could help could help curb people's ailments at a rapid speed, So, yeah, I just think this is something that we really, really need to focus on, and we really, really need to expedite those regulations. It is Take Africa right here on Channel Africa. We'll be back in just a moment.
The G20 Summit through African eyes.